Presentation number 5, Documentation and Discipline, presented by Jill Mergen. Documentation is very important and takes up a significant part of a supervisor's time. When you have an active investigation or you are working through a special personnel problem, this aspect of your job will consume you. Don't avoid it or skim over it. Expect it for the reality it is and part of your job duties. If you know what is needed and why and how to document, you should be okay. This is precisely why I recommend being organized early on. There is a difference between punishment and discipline. I will talk about that and how discipline progresses and what documentation should contain. This training segment is rather lengthy. I will condense my narration to only the brief talking points in the interest of saving time. Please understand, this training segment covered in the classroom will likely take up about half a day. I will show this slide again during the legal stuff presentation, but this is a very important aspect as to why you document. Bottom line, just cause is a legal term. When an employee files a lawsuit against the employer and claims wrongful termination, the employer would likely have to prove just cause. In order to prove that, there most definitely should be documentation that answers and supports the questions above. First of all, become familiar with the standard forms in your organization. Find out as much as you can on which form you fill out and for what scenario. If there are no forms available or nothing specific being used, create your own standardized format. Make sure you apply consistency when you document and discipline. Here are a few ways I have seen supervisors document. Take care in the words you use in your documentation. Make sure you have removed emotion and state only observed behavior. Do not make assumptions or try to diagnose their problems in your notes. Think of your notes as possibly being in court one day. If you are concerned you may be too angry or frustrated about a situation, have a peer or manager read your notes. They will be able to tell if your notes contain any emotional element. We'll talk about the differences between punishment and discipline. Basically, punishment is viewed as a means to eliminate the unwanted behavior and oftentimes does so quickly. Discipline that involves training for improvement often gains the support of the employee and concentrates on prevention of further problems. Your basic format when rendering discipline should include what the concern of the incident is, what the expectation is, how long will the reevaluation period be, and what is the consequence if the expectation is not met. Finally, make sure you get an acknowledgement by the employee as having received the discipline. I will discuss this memo template in class. I use this example when I'm advising employees of a tardiness concern. This is pretty basic. As you can see, the content is short and to the point. At the bottom of the page, I add a line for the employee to acknowledge receipt of the memo. Most people are familiar with the typical progressive disciplinary steps. This progressive system is not set in stone and often follows an appropriate level of discipline depending on the issue. For example, tardiness may be addressed with several verbal and written reprimands before considering suspension. Similarly, someone who is caught selling drugs at work will likely be dismissed on the spot, skipping the progression altogether. Make sure you stay consistent with how you address the similar issues and keep to a standard format. Finally, we talk about improvement plans. Within discipline, improvement plans may be developed in order to support the employee's efforts to correct the performance. I have heard these plans called performance improvement plans, training plans, learning plans, and remedial action plans. They all come up with creative ways for the employees to improve their performance. At the end of this presentation, we will break into groups and review scenarios and discuss appropriate discipline.